All right, so this week in Pax Day, all of the developers are off celebrating the holidays. So we didn't get much new information, but instead we have something that I would even deem more exciting, and that is a very professional 2026 Pax Day wish list. All of the things that I have been thinking about and excited about over the last several years. We're going to take an opportunity today to talk all about what is on that list. Some of them are more likely than others. You're just gonna have to tune in and see what it is. There are some deep takes in there as well. So hello and welcome back, all of you amazingly professional consumers of Pax Day and Pax Day related content out there. I'm Altari, the professional gamer, and this is another episode of the PAX Friday Review, the show where we talk about all the fun, interesting, new, and exciting information that has dropped for Pax Day over the last week. Like I said, we have put together a 2026 roadmap, wish list, and I am very excited to go through it with all of you. I'm very excited also to hear what you are the most excited about for PAX Day in the coming year. It's always fun to do these at the start of every year, and maybe we'll be able to go back and see what of our predictions are true and what of our predictions are not. And we're going to go ahead and get on into it. I believe I have 5 plus a couple of honorable mentions as well. But before we get to that, I would just also like to say, with the new year, our channel has continually grown more and more every single year. I was not expecting that this hobby of mine has exploded into something so fun, and I get to share it with so many people. So I just want to take a moment and say thank you to everyone who keeps on tuning in to all of these PAX Friday reviews, any of the other videos that we put out, is a part of the community, is out there joining us on dungeon runs or being in the Golden Company and putting together RP events and other really fun things. Just thank you to everyone who's been a part of this growing community and for supporting me. And thank you for the channel members who are also putting their money behind this channel and giving us the ability to do all of the cool things that we're able to do in game and out of game as well. So thank you everyone for supporting this channel. And I'm so very excited to see where we go from this year onward as well. It's crazy every year. I think last year we were at maybe half of the number of subscribers to the channel as we are now, probably even less than that. And the year before that, we were at like 200 around this time. It's crazy how fast the channel has exploded for such a small game like PAX Day in many ways, but we're here. So with that being said, if you want to help support the channel, the best way to do that is to hit the like button, subscribe so you can get notified whenever we come out with new videos, and share with any of your friends who are interested in learning more and staying up to date with PAX Day. This is going to be a video you want to share because we are going to be talking about a lot of cool things that are to come. With that being said, I will see you over there. We're going to be looking at some pictures today. All right, and here we are. And the first real thing that is on my wish list for 2026 is a change that we've already heard should be coming in the next couple of months, and that is an expansion of the content in Lyonesse, the PvP zone. More specifically, we only really got maybe a quarter of the system, maybe half. I think probably closer to a quarter. And what I mean by that is what you see in this picture here. This is Carrick. It is a trade town. And the big thing that you might notice is, well, Carrick is got buildings in it that don't exist there now. And for the most part, that is because this is a trade town that is fully operational, fully armed and operational, and players are able to purchase plots in the actual trade town, which, by the way, is a PvE, no damage. You're safe in this zone. It's a PvP free safe zone in the middle of Lyonesse. This is a really cool opportunity for players who aren't out there fighting over feudal shrines, going and getting the Mornell trees, doing all of that stuff. They can actually buy in here and use this as a base of operations, so to speak, so that they can do things without having to go and risk it all for a Mornell tree. With that being said, though, that this entire space is something that there's a lot of other dynamics that just haven't come yet. And What I mean by that is with the PvP shrines, why do we go and get a PvP shrine right now? The primary reason is it puts your name on the map and you get a place that you can build in Lyonesse. You still have to pay plot tokens in order to place there. It's not like you're getting anything for free. And there's really no reason to, unless you just want to go and swing around in 22 plots worth of your own feudal shrine. There's no real reason to expand the breadth of your shrine past a couple of points, and that gets me to what I'm looking forward to the most in 2026, and that's the expansion of the PvP system, the addition of alliances, which will allow players to coordinate better, work together in their clans. And also there was this idea at one point of having a feudal house as a clan. Now, when it comes to having a feudal house, we don't have those in game right now. And one of the things that has been teased is the ability to actually wage war against clans that own feudal shrines. Those clans are supposed to be feudal houses, but we've kind of gotten word that those systems are changing, and you won't be required to be a feudal house or something. You won't be required to be a feudal player in a clan that owns a feudal shrine. There's some clarification that they're going to have to do because they changed it based on some of our feedback and didn't tell us what they've changed it to yet. But nevertheless, alliances are supposed to come in. Shrines are supposed to have a reason for owning them, like potentially the effects outside of Lyonesse. Like maybe you would be able to place a tax on a entire home valley province, like all of Caries or all of Iniscalia, for example. There's other reasons to actually own those particular shrines. And then when alliances own shrines, the original hierarchy here was, hey, you form together and make a knighthood. The knighthoods form together to make baronies. Baronies form together to make kingdoms, effectively. And then you can have a king that rules over all of these other kind of subsystems. That doesn't exist yet, and there's no real indication that that's been kind of planned out yet extensively. And I really look forward to learning more about that in 2026, in addition to getting access to alliances. Another thing alongside all of this is Mornell trees. Right now, they are buggy as hell, and most of the time, trees aren't spawning in the right ways, or if they are, you are, for the most part, just... it's kind of a coin flip in some cases. There are times where trees are spawning multiple trees at the same location, and then other locations aren't getting them. And then, like, it's been, I believe, there has not been a tier 3 tree that has spawned in the entire server of Sif since December 20th. That's way too long. And they should be spawning ideally at least once a day, and they haven't spawned at all for close to a month now, or at least half a month at this point. So that is one thing that also needs to get fixed, kind of improved upon. A lot more balancing with these trees. I think maybe there might be too much wood in circulation. Maybe there's not enough. I don't know. But either way, I think there needs to be some form of adjustments with these. And Mainframe's learning, and really they kind of released this system and then immediately went on holiday. So I would expect a lot of changes to be coming in the future. Now, the next one that I wanted to talk about that I'm excited about is more on the PvE side of things. And you might see this, and this is something that came maybe about a year ago now, or a little over a year ago now. And it was the teasing of this Fae realm. And one of the things that got me really excited with this particular area was this idea that this was kind of an entrance into something. And we've seen the Stonehenges, we've seen these new regions in the old woods, and that is something that I look forward to coming in 2026, is this expansion into more dungeons, more PvE content, not focused around Zebians, but maybe focused around the Fae. And this would be kind of one of those things. And it's already, we can see it's already in development. In fact, this particular asset might already be in game and in one of the woods, and I just haven't found it yet. Or in general, players haven't found it yet. Who knows? But this definitely looks like it leads into some sort of cave system, some sort of dungeon. There's a lot of caves that are getting redone, and we know about it. They've talked about it, but this would be a really cool opportunity for them to also add new PvE content, new dungeons, new ways to go and do things in PvE. PvP has gotten a lot of love recently. They need to get that system up and running and in a sustainable fashion, and then they can go back to adding more content to the PvE side as well. Speaking of PvE, this is something that was teased a long while ago, and this is the Zebian tank. And he looks like an ugly big old sucker, and I really would love to see new mobs. And that's really what I'm talking about when this is on my wish list. Obviously, I would love to see this guy in game and to just be absolutely brutalized by him in a dungeon. But I would also like to see the dungeon content, the mob variety, the various mechanisms that we have to learn as players, that kind of develop and grow in 2026. And one of my biggest gripes right now with the dungeons and kind of where the game is being designed in right now is you have a dungeon. The way that we made it harder recently was we just multiplied the number of mobs. And one of the problems with the mobs right now is their aggro. It doesn't make sense. Nothing makes sense about the aggro of these mobs. And they added a lot of them. So I've gotten multiple instances now where we've pulled basically an entire dungeon when I taunt a single Zebian that's in front of me. And that gets really, really frustrating for players. Obviously, we can get out of it, but that's really not a fun experience. And I think part of that is more love needs to be put into the AI, their pathfinding, how they aggro, what their aggro tables are looking like, but also communicating a lot more of how these mobs interact with each other. I mean, I'm totally fine if one mob can talk to another mob and then they tell each other, hey, I'm attacking this dude, and they come at me at the same time. I'm more than fine with that. But it needs to be communicated in the game systems, and right now it just seems really, really confusing. I think some of that will be fixed when we get more mobs in the game, more dynamics that we have to fight around. This giant tank, I swear to all things beautiful in this world, if he doesn't have some new type of skill that you have to watch out for, you have to dodge, you have to position yourself in a way, you have to do something for him, then that's just a total missed opportunity. And it's getting really, really old just having to plan around Zebian skin dancers and hierophants. It would be way, way cooler if we get more dynamics, more things. Obviously, those are still mobs that deserve a place, but by adding new mobs to the game, we're going to get a lot more variety, a lot more just different situations that we can get into. Coupling that alongside improved AI is going to just make this game incredibly awesome for PvE. I mean, we run 4 dungeons a week right now in the Golden Company. They're public runs, and we still have 20 plus people showing up to them most of the time. And it is a fun aspect of the game. It's a fun way to go and hang out with your friends, and we really, really enjoy it. That's the other aspect of the PvE side of things that I'm hoping for. This isn't necessarily on the wish list, but this is kind of an honorable mention that I'll talk about right now. And that is the ability to have raid groups or expand the access to dungeons to more players. I know the original design by the team at Mainframe was they only really want one group going into a dungeon. They didn't want multiple groups going into the dungeon, and they've kind of created systems to create abrasion. Well, I can at least say that most players in the game now are actually going out and enjoying fighting these harder dungeons together in larger groups than just the 6 ones that you intended for it. I think Mainframe needs to lean into that more and create more content for more players to gather around and fight through as well, and create more challenging content, but then also create ways where multiple groups can benefit at the same time. Nothing sucks more for players than going on an entire dungeon run and getting 3,000 experience for the entire endeavor because their team wasn't doing enough damage, but they were doing more healing or more other things to support the group. And then basically just getting some loot box chests and maybe some loot if a group distributes all the loot equally at the end. That gets a little bit more frustrating. It gets frustrating when it comes to gold because different groups are getting different amounts of gold, and it just makes it feel less fair and less conducive to people playing together. So I'd hope in 2026 as well that with the addition of NPCs like these ugly suckers, that we would actually get also, in addition to that, more dynamics, better AI, and the ability to work together more closely. Now, this one was included because I know if I didn't include it, I would get yelled at in the comment section. So you can see here, we have some early concepts. I believe this was also from about a year ago, maybe a little bit more, where a horse was teased. A lot of people asked about the ability to get horses in game. And here we have an example of a horse, and it looks very, very early on. And they had someone on the team who was very, very passionate about horses working on it. They did downsize the team about a year ago now, and I don't know the status of that developer on the team, but I know a lot of people are interested in getting horses, other forms of livestock, the ability to farm in the game, plant your own plants and gather them in that way on your plots. I think a lot more systems like that need to come, but also the ability to traverse better could be good. They're obviously designing the game to be large. They've also said that I don't think horses are necessarily going to change how fast you can get from one part of the world to the other. However, they might change how much stuff you can carry, and that would be a much welcome change. Now, with that being said, another thing that I wanted to mention in this picture is the armor. So Pax Dei has a lot of armor, at least a lot of armor assets. Back before early access, before they did all of the combat design changes, we had a lot more types of armor. We have a pig-faced helmet. We had this helmet. We had all of these other different types of armor. We had the Arms of Andrina with these cool, like, white vambrace armor pieces. Just a lot of really cool art assets that existed in the game, and they all disappeared with the new combat update. It's like they deleted all of them. I know they didn't, but they had access to a lot of these assets, and then they kind of just stopped using them. So in 2026, one of my kind of honorable mentions, I guess, for desires in 2026 is to get more variation in all of the equipment, all of the different things that we have access to, and a lot more. They could even be skins. It doesn't even matter like what they are necessarily, just that we have more variety, and that would be a really welcome thing to have. Now, the last thing that I wanted to mention for today, the last thing on my list, and this is a pretty big ask on my part, but it is a video. It's an old video. In fact, it's several years old at this point. But this video, if you all remember, by the way, holy cow, look at how old some of this UI elements are. It's crazy how far the game's come. But this particular mob right here, we don't have the actual name. The video file is called Demon, but this is what the community a long time ago called Bunny. And really what I'm most interested in this particular video isn't that we get another mob. We already kind of talked about that. This is a mob that exists outside of a dungeon. It is a world boss, or at least it looks like it should be one. And that's kind of one of the big things that I hope we see in the coming year is bosses. Up until this point, we really have only had elite mobs and names, but those are more like lieutenants. These aren't the generals. These aren't the archdukes of, archdemons. They're not these extremely powerful beings that exist in the game. At this point in time, we haven't had those yet. So it would be really, really cool for us to have access to fight one of these things. And that would actually come with the raid dynamic as well. These larger enemies that you have to fight in order to get super rare resources, or maybe they only spawn every so often and you have to fight over them, or maybe you have to summon them even, and you have to go around the world and collect rare resources or unique items in order to even summon this type of thing. I hope we get some kind of dynamic there around world bosses, or just bosses in general in dungeons or outside in the world. And that kind of also pairs alongside the actual new mobs coming that I would hope are coming in the next year. Now, with that being said, there are also a bunch of things that are coming that I'm really excited about, and we already know that they're coming. The first thing that I am most excited about, and this is probably a selfish one, is master crafting getting added to the game. Master crafting, basically, as you are crafting your various recipes, if you get past a certain threshold on your bar, a master craft basically will happen, and you will increase the item power of whatever that craft was beyond what its normal item power is. So if you're crafting something wrought iron, normally it would be a 300 item power. Well, if you get the master craft, it'll go up to like 350 or 400 for the master craft. And that's something that adds in addition to the enchantment. So in theory, you could make a blue armor piece that is made out of steel, and that would put it already at like a 600 gear score, and then you can enchant it to 125. And if it was master crafted, maybe that's an additional 125. So at the end of the day, you're all the way up at like 800 or 900, even higher gear score. And that's when you can start soloing Zebians with no healing and just be an absolute baddie. But that type of upgrade to crafting, also the ability to salvage your crafts so that when you're leveling up, you can actually salvage these things and get resources back. That would be really useful. It feels really, really bad right now when you're leveling up literally anything and you craft 20,000 of something and then you just throw it on the ground and it's just completely wasted, but you're doing the most economic thing. We know that crafting is getting some changes, specifically with regards to the ability to level off of various resources, because as it stands right now, if I go and craft something that requires 100 wrought iron ingots, I'm going to get this, as long as it's the same difficulty level, I'll get basically the same experience from a vambrace that requires only 10 wrought iron ingots or something like that. Now in the future, when they add this improvement, it's going to be reflective of the amount of resources that you're using. So if you did want to craft some wrought iron chest pieces or leg pieces, you would still be getting proportionately the same amount of XP for making one chest piece as if you were making 20 of the equivalent foot pieces or gloves or vambraces or something like that. So that'll make it a lot more valuable for people to continue to level up and continue to get things. And with that, other improvements to various crafting disciplines, like, for example, jewel crafting, which right now is just kind of a glorified way to, in PvP, save your actual gear from getting blown up by a player when they kill you, and 40% of your gear disappears automatically into gear fragments. Well, some of that gear could just be your jewelry instead. Currently, jewel crafting, the only benefit is that they can make half of the requirements for enchantments. It would be really, really great if jewelry actually did something, actually had a benefit to the player. Having better jewelry is going to be better for you as a player, and that is something that I look forward to. Also getting some more updated jewelry models and assets, because right now there's just a simple loop. You can get a couple of rings that all look the same, and then I think there's 2 different types of necklaces. So that's one other thing that I hope comes. But then another thing that we know is coming, they actually talked about it with us in the most recent interview that we had with them back in the summer, and that was dueling. The ability to duel outside of Lyonesse, where you don't lose your gear into gear fragments when you die. And they mentioned to begin with, it's 1v1 dueling. Hopefully that's coming pretty soon. It will really do a lot for the PvP scene. It'll be an opportunity for players who don't want to PvP to still get kind of PvP exposed and maybe learn that they actually do want to PvP. You never know, but getting the ability to duel is really, really important for people to begin to test things out in a more frequent manner rather than just kind of going out and deathballing out in Lyonesse. So I'm really looking forward to a dueling system coming into the game. Now, obviously some other honorable mentions, things like lore coming into the game, like books and other things that actually have gameplay dynamics that reveal lore to us, unreliable authors, ways to go and explore and find things based off of what we read in books or other manuscripts in the game. And then alongside some of that as well, we are coming close to the end of our first in-game seasonal event. I hope more of that happens. It actually excited players. It gave them stuff to do. They went out into the world. They went and collected resources, created this new unique thing that players won't be able to get access to after the event's done. I hope Mainframe leans into that and they do more of those types of things so that players can go out and explore and experience some of those new things that they got. I mean, we got a goat model, we got a new lantern that you can hang off from the ceilings, and then we got 2 different headpieces, which, by the way, Mainframe, shame on you for not giving the heavy armor users some kind of seasonal piece of gear, though it kind of makes sense with the lore regarding the winter crown versus the goat mask. I don't know what it would have been for heavy armor, but either way, I'm a heavy armor user, so I'm a little upset about it. But those are just a couple of the things that are on my wish list for 2026. I know it was a lot of them. Some of those are more likely to come in 2026 than others, but I'm going to leave it up to the comment section to tell me which ones you think are more likely, which ones did I miss, which ones do you think should be on the 2026 wish list for Pax Dei. I'm excited. It is the year of Pax Dei, though. We are going to get more updates, more content, more things to do in the game, and that's going to just be all the better. It's going to, one, expand the number of people playing the game, I think. It's also going to expand the amount of things to do in the game for current players, and I just really look forward to all of that, and it's going to be a great year. But with all of that being said, that's it for today's video. I'll see you next week for another one. Until then, I'm Altari, the Professional Gamer.